Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. So I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I appreciate this conversation. I know as it was starting, I was starting to feel a little bit anxious, and I thought I might have to leave this room because this is kind of overwhelming. But I'm thankful that I stayed through it, and just by going through therapy and doing a lot of things and having a lot of support systems around me and prayer and just trusting the process, finding groups of adoptees has really just been very grounding for me because it helps me to see that I'm not an island out here by myself trying to make it alone. It's just really been I'm just thankful for this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Community is important. I suggest everyone look in their state for Adoptees Connect groups. Those are live in-person groups. And if you ever get to a point where your city doesn't have one or your state doesn't have one, and it's something you want to facilitate, they do have people volunteer to facilitate groups.
Yeah,
But
you can contact me because I facilitate the one in my city. And if you need help, I've talked to many people that were starting groups. They just come up and they ask me, they said, what does it take? Be honest, how much time do you spend doing this, that, and the other? And it's just like anything that you volunteer for. It can take a lot of your time or it can take a little bit of your time. If you notice my Adoptees Connect graphics I use, I just reuse them and change the dates. So I don't have to, it saves me a little bit of time. I
right.
have the Tulsa background, I make it something that's kind of colorful. And anyway, but I've shown movies, which are going to take a lot more time for Adoptees Connect when I have to, go out and find the venue and contact the people that have a documentary. And then I have to get the rights to the documentary. And then I have to ask them if they'll do a Q&A. But so that takes a lot more time. But if I'm just, we're meeting at the same place at the same time every month, that doesn't take a lot of time. But you will start getting new people and people will come and go. So it is a great way to meet up with people in person. And I've made some friends here that I didn't know they're adopted. They're just people that showed up and now we're friends. We go out and have tea and lunch and stuff sometimes. So it is a really good way to connect. And
Absolutely.
it is a nonprofit, Adoptees Connect. If you go to adopteesconnect.com, it is a nonprofit. So
I put spaces in it. There are no spaces. I just put them in it just to have it in the chat. I didn't know if it will. I always get worried. Social media has ruined me for what you can and cannot do.
oh gosh.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
Connect
Oh,
was
and speaking of that, I did you all see the woman that's trying to ask for $100,000, and the $100,000 is for her bills so that she can pay down her bills so she can adopt.
mm-hmm.
And I was like going, how is that allowed?
Right.
And she's probably going to get it. That's the thing, is she's probably going to get it. But if one of us said, I need a GoFundMe to help pay for my mental health bills,
Yep.
too bad,
Yep.
so sad.
Yep. So a petition needs to be started that GoFundMe cannot be used to utilize adoption expenses, because if you really get to the meat and potatoes of it, it's human trafficking. They're facilitating human trafficking.
Oh, I have an example. This was I'm pretty sure it was in 2019, because I don't even know if I had started the Adopted Chameleon or if I had just barely started, but there was a commercial going around in Oklahoma, and it was Oklahoma Central Credit Union. I still remember this commercial. This was a commercial for these people. They said, we got a call in the middle of the night and nobody wanted the baby. Nobody was coming to take the baby. So we went and got the baby, but we had to contact Oklahoma Central Credit Union for the money. And they even had the child's picture and name on the commercial. I contacted them going, I am appalled.
Yeah.
I mean, I one side up and down the other. I said, you have got to take that commercial down. They did email me back, I guess one of their VPs or whatever wanted to talk to me. But they got really like, well, someone will contact you so that you can set up an appointment. And I said, well, you can set up an appointment with me too. So let me know when that appointment's ready.
Right.
And then of course they never got back with me, but they put the child's face and name on that commercial.
I hate
Oklahoma Central Credit Union.
I hate advertisements for children. They shouldn't have their likeness.
That shouldn't be legal. And especially when they said there was nobody coming to take the baby. I was just like, oh my God, please don't let that child ever see that commercial. Please, please.
Oh,
Never.
Because you know that there's those people that don't see a problem with it and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember when you were on a commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'll be the people that adopted because they were in the commercial. They were holding her in the commercial. And then they showed her older or something with her name. And I was just like.
Yeah, it's like when I tell people, you know, that I was essentially custom ordered by my adopted mother. People look at it and they're like, oh, that's so beautiful. No, it's not. You know, ordering your child like a Gucci bag, a custom made Gucci bag is not normal.
No. And there's a video of mine on Facebook. Actually, adopted Connor and I both discovered Facebook. Man, they're crazy over there. It is. That's right. You know too, because you came in over there. There's a video of mine that I made a while back because it's buried in there, but it's trending again. And I got it off of TikTok because there was a comment and I pointed to the comment and the person said, the perk of adopting is you get to pick out the child. I would not want a kid that would have a relationship with their biological parents, something along this line. And so the first thing you hear me say is, please don't adopt. And I'm pointing to the comment. Well, on Facebook, a lot of people don't know what that is. They were like just going off. And I was like, did you agree with the comment? And they're like, what comment? And I'm just like going, okay, it's not my fault that y'all don't know how the game is played. Yeah. I was like, it's right here by my head and I'm pointing to it.
Those are people that on the comment of AI images, they're saying, God bless.
but I've even had, but that one, which is trending again on Facebook, they're still saying that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Even though the whole video talks about what's more child-centered and stuff, it's like they just went blank. Like, because I'm not saying don't adopt, but I did it because I was a marketer and I know how to make people stop. Right. So that's how I did it. But I was pointing to the people specifically in the comment.
Right. No. Facebook is boomers.
Mm-hmm.
The boomers that have foregone technology. You know, I told my son, I have a 28-year-old son, and I said, don't you ever allow me to believe in AI or any of this other stuff. I said, you keep me going with the technology. You keep me updated. Yeah. Sit down and you tell me, Mom, let me show you something.
Right. Oh, Alma, do you have another question? Or is your hand still up? I'm sorry.
No, I actually do have a question.
Okay, good.
So, a few years ago, I want to say like maybe 4 years ago, I had started going through EMDR and really committing to therapy and found that it was way too much for me. It was good at the moment, but I had a whole lot of bad reactions afterwards. And coming out of the fog, I felt like I was just mentally spiraling. Like I felt like I couldn't even keep my grounding. It was just out of control. So my question would be for everybody here is, what do you find helps you? I know you were talking about the toolbox, and I'm going to actually implement that because I've heard it before. But what else do y'all find to be helpful to stay grounded?
Can I take this one? Because I want to speak to EMDR specifically. We've had this discussion in Adopted Chameleons, and I've had this discussion with people before. Maybe it'll be a good post. The Body Keeps the Score was where they said EMDR was so great. And it is. It can be a fabulous tool. So this is not to steer people away from it. But there are steps before EMDR that you should do. And IFS would be one that I would highly recommend that you do prior to EMDR. IFS is parts therapy. IFS stands for internal family systems. And that breaks things down a lot easier, a lot more maintainable. And a good IFS therapist can put you in a safe space where you are actually talking to yourself and putting the guard down to find out why you're being triggered in things. So IFS is really good because you pay attention to your body and you're in a more calm state than doing your eyes, which your eyes are a direct link to your nervous system. And when you're moving your eyes around, you're activating your nervous system back and forth. I know because I do this in my practice, right, Kim? We work with our eyes a lot. And so if you're not doing it in a space that you're ready for, it could be very detrimental because it does take you to sometimes like pre-verbal states. I've had lots of people tell me about pre-verbal states. I've gone to pre-verbal states, and this can be jarring if you haven't already talked to that inner child first and saying, we're going to go work deeper now that we know why you're triggered.
Mm-hmm.
That's my impression from it too, is that if you're newly processing trauma or coming out of the fog or whatever, that there's certain things that have to happen first before you can go deep like that. Like if I had tried EMDR 5 years ago, I think I would be a puddle on the floor. I think now if I were interested in doing it, I'm at that point where I'm ready, but I've done so much other work, embodiment work, lots of Kundalini yoga, lots of journaling,
Mm-hmm. Creative
just,
stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like it's my nervous system has calmed down substantially. And if I have a bad day, I can regulate faster. But I'm kind of speaking ahead of myself because I have not done EMDR. I feel like that's sort of like, you have to have a foundation first.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, with internal family systems, there's a book called No Bad Parts. I have not read it. I have it somewhere around here in this mess, but
That's a good
I'm told that it's a
recommendation.
really, really good book to understand what that is, because I think the name of that,
Well, we
type
can
of
put it,
therapy
yeah.
is
When you find that,
confusing.
put it in the chat. Or when I email everybody, I can do that. Would you get that information to me and I'll put it in the email?
Yeah.
Because any kind of resources like that, Dezaray, I know you have plenty. I'll let you speak to that.
I'll look it up right now.
As far as like resources for there,
just your thoughts on EMDR and resources.
So, for anything like that, definitely safe space. Make sure that you are confident, comfortable, and in everything with your therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I had therapists where I did not feel comfortable with them. And so for me to go into my inner child or connect with my inner child, I felt silly. I felt, and those are my own projections of the environment. You need to not have somebody that you feel that way with. And maybe that therapist just isn't for you if you can't get to a place where you can do certain more in-depth work. I know for me, EMDR does not effectively work because I get stuck. I have found myself getting stuck in my trauma. I get stuck in a room. So they'll have you describe a room or something happened. I'm permanently stuck in that room and I can't get out of it. And then the therapy is over and I'm still in that room. And those are definitely not good things to have. I do have a few links that will take you to adoption competent therapists. Even doing, obviously not all therapy could be done on Zoom. I do believe that. But the ones that can be done on Zoom are kind of nice.
I do Zoom with my therapist.
I do talk therapy for 2 hours every Friday. And that helps me more, I've noticed, than EMDR, because we have been silenced by society. We've been silenced by our adoptive families. We've been silenced possibly by our birth families. And because of that silencing, just me being able to talk about my adoption to somebody is whoo, just to free ball it and be like, oh my gosh, you know, and stuff
Yeah.
has helped me more to know that my voice, even if it's just to the therapist's ears, is being heard.
Yes.
And that has helped a lot. We're going to work, once I'm done with all these surgeries and I can process the cancer, we're going to work on some type of touching.
Oh, yes.
The tapping. Yeah. We're gonna.
It's a bilateral tapping.
Yeah.
And it works with your nervous system. Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna attempt to try that to process the cancer, because that is like the new trauma. And then if it works with that, I would like to try it with, you know, some other stuff. But I'm definitely comfortable with my therapist to the point where I feel like I can do that now.
That's fabulous. And I do want to, on the adoptee competent, and some will say adoption competent. So I did want to talk to that, because there are trainings that are going around. And if they've taken that training, then they are probably more than likely trauma-informed adoptee competent therapist. If they haven't taken the training, they may just be saying it without any kind of credentials, because I ended up in a therapist office that told me yes, absolutely helped adoptees, trauma-informed, knew it all. And she was trauma-informed. she was trauma-informed, but her best friend, and this, I swear, I was in the therapist office and she was telling me that her best friend had adopted. And so that's why she knew all about adoptees. And when I was saying, well, not all adoptees tell their adoptive parents how they feel, she told me that she should just quit and go flip burgers if she couldn't figure that out. And I was in a therapist, that was my therapy appointment. Oh, my nervous system dysregulated on that woman.
Right.
She's lucky to still be breathing. So, and that's why you shouldn't do these things if you aren't looking at all sides, because she pretty much told me that everything I said was bullshit in my therapy appointment. I mean, that can send someone into a deadly spiral because of the suicidal ideation that I live with. Trust me, I was not well for about a week after that, because not only was I not seen and not heard, but it was a professional telling me that I was wrong.
Those are definitely therapists that need to.
Right. So I'm just warning you all, if you haven't got a therapist, interview them.
Yes.
Interview them.
Yep.
You ask them questions. Do you have a connection to adoption? Do you have a connection? And if so, what is that connection? How do you feel about, adoption? Ask these questions. And my number one is, do you have your own therapist? If your therapist doesn't have a therapist, don't go. Don't go. That's a red flag, people.
And you should be teaching your therapist adoption trauma.
Right. And that was the other thing that I did for years.
Your therapist what adoption trauma is and all of this, that is not your therapist, because at the end of the day, they are there for you. You are not there for them. That is something that they should go and research on their own. And it does need to be incorporated more into therapists. They need to go through specific classes to be able to deal with, just as they would go through cultural competency classes. They all need to go through.
They do. And yeah, I'm sorry. One of the things I'm doing in Oklahoma is that.
Good.
I've been working for the past year with the Steering and Implementation Committee and helping them. Well, I was the token adoptee on the panel. It was kind of like, men talking about women's, reproductive organs or something. I'm like, there's no one here. So I stepped in, and sometimes we do have to step into places that are a little bit uncomfortable. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. These people were very welcoming and gave me a platform for my voice, even though on the national level, their social media page, I'm chewing them out. But these people aren't working necessarily with these people. And I'm pointing that out to them. I'm like, I'm in a state where I'm trying to get better mental health care with adoptees, working with your training. And then you all are over here trying to make laws easier for adopted parents.
Mhm.
And so I'm making these people talk, and they some
Yeah,
are angry at me,
uh,
but I don't care, because if the right hand's doing this and the left is doing this, I need y'all to come together. So we're in discussions.
kind of like the ACLU.
Yes, the ACLU
They
is another one.
They work against us and
They
want
do.
people to adopt us,
But they do a lot of good work. So I'm not taking away from what they do, but you are right. They are not on our side, because I have written to them too.
feet to the flame, feet to the flame.
Right.
Asked, what do we think needs to change, happen immediately? Original birth certificates in every state are not open. I know Utah, my home state, just opened up theirs. Georgia just opened up theirs. I do feel like the more states that start to allow us access to our birth certificates, our records,
Yes.
I do feel it's going to at some point be kind of an easier trickle down effect. But I definitely think the secrecy needs to come out of adoption.
Absolutely.
Original birth certificates need to 100% be released. We deserve to have our original identities. Even if that identity is gone, we still deserve to have that for ourselves. It's sad to know that we will never die the same person that we were born. And I hate that. I hate that for so many adopted people. We deserve that. Medical history.
Yes.
We definitely need to do a better job at working not just with states to understand that medical history for adopted children is vital, but we also need to figure out how to work with medical facilities. I feel as though if we can get with doctors and medical boards within our states, having that change is good, because only very few, I mean very few medical places have a spot that says adopted. And I like that they have that, because that is something that immediately goes into their system. That is put in their system. This person does not have medical history. This person doesn't, and it's known to your doctors and your physicians going forward. It will never be a question again. Well, what's your mother's blah, blah, blah. They already have it on file. They already have it on record. Us just crossing out on the form and writing I'm adopted does not get put in the system the same way. Right. It's going to constantly, be asked. The other
Every
thing,
time.
the other thing they brought up was the fathers. For me personally, I say it is a woman's decision to carry a pregnancy to term or not, because she is utilizing her body. So whatever she decides to do up until the moment of delivery is her decision. However, once that baby that took two people to create is breathing this air, it should be two people that decide what happens to that baby. We definitely need to
unless it was rape or something, and then there's always a
caveat. Absolutely. It's always going to be a ulterior rule to the book.
Right.
But I believe that fathers have been completely overlooked.
Mine was.
They have no choice. They have no choice in the matter. I do have a birth fathers section on my website. It does link over to people who are actively already doing that work. I really try to link to people already doing something. That is not something I want to do. I don't want to rally for. It's not that I don't think that birth fathers deserve, all these rights. It is just not my mission. It's not my plight to be that advocate for them. If there's already people doing it, I will support you. I will link to you. I will cheer you on, and I will talk about it.
Right.
But I'm not going to. But I do believe that, yes, fathers absolutely need more rights, because we see a lot of times where these women are being flown from their home state into another state where fathers have zero rights.
Right.
And even if they signed up on the registry, the father's registry that they have, it is only active in certain states. So if they were in Georgia and were supposed to give birth in Georgia, so he filled out all the paperwork in Georgia thinking his baby was going to be born in Georgia, so it would notify him at the birth of his child. Now she's in Utah, and he didn't sign up in Utah, so Utah will not notify him. There's just so many ways for them to gain access to these children with lies. And women really need to take accountability to stop. If there is not a safety issue and these children can safely go to their paternal side of their family, or even someone on their maternal side, we need to allow that access. And stop putting, because again, that's where adoptive parents get put on that pedestal, that their needs come before the child and the birth parent. So yeah. I mean, I hope that answers that. But
And I was going to add two things, and then we can end here. I was going to add no more closed adoptions, period. No more closed adoptions. That's gone. And then
it was all secrecy anyway.
Yeah. And if you adopt, you cannot legally lie to the child that they're adopted.
Yes.
I don't care what kind of adoption is, kinship or not. You cannot lie to, because that is something that we assume that kinship will be better. But I know personally, I can think of 3 right off the top of my head that were kinship adoptees and were lied to. They were also LDAs. Yeah. So it's not always the best scenario, because that does happen. And I want to point that out because they are huge advocates and talk about it. They even say, kinship typically should be the best, but it's not always. And in my case, it wasn't, because I was lied to, So I wanted to point that out.
That I feel like needs to change back to the birth certificate. The amended shit needs to go. Stop amending a live record of birth. This is who gave birth to us. Nothing will ever change about that. So we need to have what I think it's Australia is doing, and they put an adoption certificate, or it's either that, or I think they put the names with it. So it's birth and then it's adoptive. So adoptive parents here and stuff on one certificate. We need to put the focus back on the children, back on the kids is where it needs to go.
That's right. It's supposed to be child welfare, right? That's in the name. It's supposed to be child welfare. Well, I just wanted to thank you all so much. I hope everyone is feeling okay. If you're not, just take a deep breath in and out and drop your shoulders down and just let it go. Let it go.
Go make you a self-soothing kit.
Yes, go make your self-soothing kit. Do some creative things. Eat some soothing food, something nourishing, some water. Make sure and hydrate. Take care of yourselves. And you can walk away anytime if you read comments or hear things, whether it's an adoptee or not. Just walk away. Take care of yourself first, always. Because if you're not your best, then you can't be the best for all of us. You put your own oxygen mask on first, and that's a real thing, because when we heal ourselves, we heal others. So thank you, Dezaray, so much. And tell Spicy Jacqueline, hi, and best wishes to you tomorrow. I'm glad that it's going to be over with and you can move on from this. So
I'm over it. This has been a year of my life that I'll never get back, but I definitely am ready to move forward and better things.
Well, thank you so much. And
thanks for this. I hope people got their questions answered.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I will I will work on the recording Wednesday and Thursday. I'll get it out as soon as I can. And I'll send you all the recording, everybody that signed up, and it'll be on YouTube and my website and wherever Dezaray wants to put it, because she's going to have it too. So you all can rewatch it or send it to people if it's something that you think that they would like.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. We definitely need to do more of these in our community. I think
we
that's
do.
A good resource for adoptive parents and even adoptees to feel like they're not alone.
Thank you for your
I think
voice.
so too. Yeah. It
Thank
was
you,
good to
Kim,
meet
for
you.
helping.
Oh, you know what? It was super easy. I'm glad I got to talk to you, even if it was just over Zoom, Dezaray.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
thank
see you all
you.
the time on TikTok and on Facebook now, but I now, getting
She's
to talk
real.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not just that little baby picture.
Well, I'm going to hit end, you all, and everybody have a beautiful night. Please go do something special for yourselves. Whatever you enjoy, do it for yourself. Empower yourself.
Absolutely. All
Bye-bye.
right. Good one.